All right. Test.
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 And we welcome you back for the third and final, yes, that's right, third, not one, not two, but three, the third segment of Convincing Idiots. This evening, we are discussing strange accents. No, we are discussing vampires and vampire-related content. It is spooky season. I don't know if you guys do or not. It is spooky season. It is very scary. Halloween is upon us. And I'll tell you what, it's soon will be time to trick or treat. You'll see many costumes. A lot of people a lot of kids dressed up as vampires and things of that nature. It's fun. It's a classic costume. Be leery out there. Be careful while you're taking your kids door to door. It is spooky, but it's all about the fun. Watch out for the candy, but there is nothing scarier. And I mean, like, parents far and wide understand when I say this. When you're taking your small kids trick-or-treating, there's nothing scarier than heading up a steep hill while you're taking your kids trick-or-treating and leg cramp, Charlie horse, down. These problems and so many more frightening scenarios can be gone if you owned your very own electric bike. Now, our friends at RPM Bike Shop could make this the most spooktacular season of all for you. Hold the spook, okay?
For that.
Hold the spook, because you will not be left in a scary situation, okay? Our friends at RPM Bike Shop have the finest selection of electric bikes for you. All you have to do is go to Facebook and search RPM Bike Shop. You could also go to their website, rpmbikeshop.com. There you can see photographs of their lovely transits that they can offer you in the form of their electric bicycles. You can also give them a call at 330-808-7792. And you too could be in flight up a very steep hill on your very own electric bike. From RPM Bike Shop today. Vampires. Anyway, so RPM Bike Shop's taken care of. We're talking about some vampires.
Yep.
All right. It is very spooky. Okay. Now, steep hills are scary, but vampires, perhaps scarier. Perhaps.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. Some of them are fun. Some of them are lovable. Let's just go. We're just going to go around the circle here. We're going to discuss some of our favorite vampires, vampire-related characters, things of this nature through the years and different TV and movies and wherever you pull a vampire from. Everything's fair game, fellas. So, Dean, what kind of vamps you got?
Well, I have a list of the scary vampires, the lovable vampires, the goofy vampires. I'm going to start with the goofy vampires. You said, because I want to dispel this rumor that you have started, Nicholas, that all vampires are scary. No, Leslie Nielsen in the movie Dracula Dead and Loving It was a lovable and funny vampire. So, first on my list, Leslie Nielsen in Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Forgot all about that one.
Yeah. What is that? Is it
a sack of shit? It's Leslie Nielsen.
I'm sorry that I took an interest in your thing that I didn't know about. Never mind. Brian, who do you have?
Leslie Nielsen got when he did the airplane movie, Nick. He got kind of roped into that weird humor.
Okay.
So he had the Naked Gun movies. And then he got kind of caught up in some of these other parody type movies for a while to find work. Really, probably poor man, but
he was good at it.
He was good at it.
Go back and watch Repossessed.
I remember that
actually had Linda Blair star with him in it. It was a spoof
of The Exorcist.
On The Exorcist.
Yeah.
But Dracula Dead and Loving It wasn't his best movie. It was of all of those, but it was It was Leslie Nielsen doing Leslie Nielsen. It was funny for what it was.
Yep.
I think Tim Daly was in it also from Wings. I believe he was in it.
We've talked more about this movie than people have since it probably came out. What else do you have? Go ahead.
Right. By all means, move on.
Yeah.
Nicholas, what do you got?
Oh, well, I'll stick with the fun and lovable. Who here has not, whose life has not been touched by this next vampire? Okay, especially this time of year.
Oh.
Uncle Vlad, stop that. I
want to tickle. That's all I do. I tickle.
No, good, clean fun around the breakfast table. Count fucking Chocula. Count Chocula. Yes, absolutely. Count Chocula. It's a fun-loving fellow. Him and his other fellow monster friends, along with Boo Berry and Frankenberry. I have boxes of all three upstairs right now. Big fan. Actually, oddly enough, Count Chocula is probably my least favorite of the three, but nevertheless, I respect the hustle. I respect what he's done, and he, more than the other two, has been relevant because, I mean, Count Chocula is on the shelves all year round. Boo Berry and Frankenberry, it's a seasonal treat. So, good on Count Chocula. Longevity,
staying power.
I mean, if there's one thing that vampires have, it's longevity and staying power. I mean,
that's true.
So, and I mean, chocolate can't go wrong. Count Chocula. There we go.
One of my favorite cereals of all time, and that takes me every time I see those monster cereals, without fail, it takes me this super nostalgia.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's why they keep cranking them out.
I was just saying, well, now they put it like the boxes I have, like before they'd put them out in their like themed boxes that were kind of updated. Last couple years, they've been putting out them on those plain with the throwback Kellogg or whatever like logo, the white box, like they kind of look like vintage. So that's kind of cool.
That's what I remember as a kid. And then I think last year it was the 50th anniversary of those cereals. They had a blend, like there's all the cereals in one. One blend was pretty good. But anyway,
I haven't seen this. I haven't seen it yet this year, but last year on the back they had the dotted line cutout, so you could do the Halloween mask of
nice.
Count Chocula or Blueberry.
My King Vitamins always had those on the back. They had like the little knight helmet and the King face and King Vitamin. Yeah,
good stuff.
Yep.
I saw a Hawaiian shirt with like all the monsters, like the Count, the cereal monsters on it. I'm like,
nice.
Very tempted to get that. You can find them out there. All right, we'll stay with some of the fun stuff. So we mentioned Even Tonight. So one of my favorite vampires, fun-loving vampires, Grandpa Munster from the Munsters there. So the great Al Lewis on the original Munsters was a terrific actor and vampire. And like I said, the guy that did the new Grandpa was decent in his own right there. But original Al Lewis, Grandpa Munster, the Count, one of my favorite vampires of all time.
I have one of my favorite, Lestat Lioncourt from Interview with the Vampire. Okay, so I'm going to take this time for a moment and talk about the new television show. It's not a remake. It is actually a continuation. It is 20 or 30 years after the movie.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a reboot, so it's not.
Nope.
It's a continuation.
It's a continuation because Louis finds the original interviewer, right?
Okay. All right.
And
Christian Slater
Christian Slater's character, and he brings him back because they both weren't ready to tell the whole actual story. You find out that the interviewer was a drug addict, and Louis wasn't quite up to vampire snuff, to be honest. So they're both getting together to tell the whole and actual story. So they start from the beginning. They've diversified the cast. Louis is played by a African American gentleman. Lestat is still, looks like, Lestat, the blonde hair and whatnot. But they've changed up a little bit. Louis, this takes place. It doesn't take place in like the 1700s or 16 or whatever it was in the movie. He is changed into a vampire in like 1910 or early 1900s. So they've adjusted some of the story, but it's intriguing. The acting's good. I'm looking forward to more of it. But yeah, my Lestat pick is given on Tom Cruise's performance.
Absolutely.
And the book performance. What Anne Rice wrote. I read the book. And Lestat, to me, is one of the best written book characters, let alone movie characters, there is, especially for vampires. So Lestat Lioncourt is my pick.
Okay.
Nice. Had a black cat as a kid named Lestat. That's what we named him. Yep.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
It's cute. Yep.
Yeah.
Nick, you got another one?
Yes, I will go with. Lestat was also on my list. I will go with. So I was like digging around trying to find some vampire characters, and one that kind of escaped me that I didn't really realize was, looking back. Yes, so I'd mentioned earlier when we were talking about Dahmer and Evan Peters and all that stuff that he was on American Horror Story. Well, in one season of American Horror Story, in which Lady Gaga was a member of the cast, I believe it was the hotel season, she was essentially a vampire, and that was just a really cool character, just a very sexy vampire, very sleek, very just incredible. And then the very first episode of that season, I remember there's just this really graphic scene where her and her boyfriend at the time, they go out to a drive-in, and then they kind of meet up with this other couple, and they invite them back to the hotel to their suite, and the next thing they're having this, they're hooking up with this other couple, and then the bite happens, and then there's blood everywhere, and it's this really graphic, blood-filled sex scene, and it was just really cool the way it was done, but it was just, I don't know, it was hot, it was cool,
the really cool blood-filled sex scene.
It was just cool. It was I don't know, it was very I don't know, it was very, very cool the way that they went out and stalked their prey and kind of just, I don't know, but yeah, Lady Gaga and her character.
It was fun. We were drunk. She didn't tell me she was on her period. It was amazing.
It's blood everywhere. You know how it is. This is hot. It's good. No, yeah, but no, that was a good one for me.
All right, very good. Well, there's many portrayals of Count Dracula himself. There's plenty out there for that. So I'm going to go back to the great Bela Lugosi from the original Dracula movie way back in the 40s. I bought some boxes. So Universal re-released some of their classic movie monsters on DVD, like box sets and different things over the last few Halloween seasons. So they had Frankenstein's monster and Creature from the Black Lagoon and Dracula and stuff. So I picked up some of these. So I'd never seen that movie until within the last season or two when I picked that up. So it's just fun. He's great. He was a great portrayal of that. It was very true to the book, the original Dracula movie, which, kind of ties to Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is right along lines of the original book as well. But just a great Bela Lugosi as Count Dracula. Classic. He played that role a couple times, obviously, and so there you
go. When I was moving out of one apartment, going into the next, and I was moving in with this young lady, and we didn't. Cable was going to be hooked up, so we didn't have any TV at the moment. So the only thing she had with her was the entire box set season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, not going to watch that. No, thank you. She's like, well, at least, all right, I'm going to turn it on. At least watch one episode. That's all it took. I was hooked. I binged through that whole damn season. And to me, one of the coolest vampires there are is Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So he is next on my list.
Spike.
He would like they turned him when he in the 80s, so he is this punk rocker vampire, like more Johnny what's his name? Johnny Rotten, that type of character, British punk rock guy, turned in the 80s, but yeah. But great character, great show. I was more than pleasantly surprised. I don't care what anybody says. That show rocks. The writing was fantastic. It was what it was. It was a teen vampire show in the 90s, but it was cool.
Actually,
I loved it.
I believe to this day the back of the box set says, quote, "This show rocks." Dean Harvey.
Yeah.
That's how they get people to buy it.
Sure.
There you go.
Vouched for by you.
Who wouldn't buy it if you read that on the back of a box set?
Wasn't there there was a spinoff from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, wasn't there? Was it Angel? Is that what it was? Was that a vampire as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Without giving you the whole story and backstory, yes, Angel was a vampire on Buffy originally.
Okay. All right.
So, with Spike being my next pick, Nikolai.
Yes.
Who do you have?
I'm going to go real old school here. Another classic, another fun-loving one. The Count from Sesame Street. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Just teaching kids how to count. Counting bats and shit. The Count's just a good
and shit.
Bats and shit. One bat and shit. Two bat and shit. Three bat and shit.
That's guano.
Yeah, no, man. The Count's up there for me. The Count's a good vampire. So
I agree.
Well, my favorite Muppets of all time. As a kid, I had a story album type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the Count doing like a radio show. That's what it was. So it was the guy doing the Count voice.
Welcome to WVVN.
Yeah.
Broadcasting out from your radio from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
It was something like
now
that.
Now listen to The Strokes.
Exactly. Yes. It was along that line. That's right. He would introduce
but
segments.
Wait, there's more.
There'd be like Sesame Street songs and stuff that he was introducing and all that. And I would sit and listen to that album, and I would sit down and pretend I had a microphone. I was the Count, and I just memorized that album, and I would sit there and recite and just mimic, lip sync, the Count doing that radio show. So that was my first taste of being on the radio. Little did I know.
Look at that. Yeah, that it would be a career for you.
A global wide podcast. Exactly right. Even on my bedroom door, Nick, I had a little sign like little Brian's room, whatever. And I had a Count that I cut from a Sesame Street magazine stuck in that sign. So all the way back, it was like one of my favorite Muppets was, the Count was on my little bedroom door as a child. Many years ago, so nice. There you go. A little homage to the Count. When
enter. Little Brian will be done beating off in 3 whole minutes.
Thank you. No, but the real
1 stroke, 2 stroke, 3 stroke, and I'm done.
That's it. That's probably about right. It's pretty accurate. No, but when the real actor passed away a few years ago that played the original Count, I remember pausing for a second there, like, man, that hit me a little bit. Just thinking about all the great childhood memories of listening to that guy do that character. So yeah, definitely near and dear to my heart, Nick. So anyway,
nice.
Another portrayal of Dracula. I mentioned it kind of already, but Gary Oldman. His portrayal of Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Man, I remember when I first watched that movie, I was like, man, this is so strange and weird. I really didn't get into it originally, but every time I've watched that movie since, I'm like, I have a greater and greater appreciation of the entire movie. Keanu Reeves is great. It's just the visuals are fantastic. But Gary Oldman is so good in that role as Dracula. I went back and watched it, I think last season. It's out there. I mean, you can find it obviously on streaming. But if you haven't watched that movie in a while, you know, take some time for that this holiday season to watch it. Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's, like I said, it's definitely in line with the book. Super, super creepy and just a different level of horror with that. So just a lot of great performances. So yeah, go check him out. But Gary Oldman was fantastic. Dracula.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
We don't have to stick with just vampires if you guys don't. If you want, you can move it around. Keep talking about vampires themselves if you want to. If you have a movie, just whatever you want to talk about necessarily. You don't have to feel pressure to stay in the context of just vampires if you don't want to. Just whatever you want to do.
Well, I got one that's going to encompass a bunch of different vampires because a lot of them were portrayed in it. Because you can't pick one. But What We Do in the Shadows, definitely needs the recognition because
I've heard of that. That's the FX show, right? Yeah,
yeah.
It was a movie too originally,
right? But it's really funny, well written. Just it is goofy humor.
Mm-hmm.
I think Taika Waititi is a vampire in it. There's the one episode where they have the Vampire Council, where I think Mark Hamill is a vampire. They have some like old school people from like old vampire shows, movies and stuff, but like a bunch of celebrities. What's her name? She plays like in Doctor Strange. She plays the original wise one or whatever, the bald one.
Oh yes, okay.
Oh. But she plays like the big, ultimate, vampire of all of them, and it's just such a good show. I mean, so funny.
I think the movie was, I think it was Taika Waititi. That was his first movie, I believe.
I believe so.
Movie. Yeah. It's the whole concept, like you say, is very interesting. It's like a documentary of somebody filming vampires just in living in modern times. The concept is it's very, very good. I agree with you.
And they're fumbling and dopey and
there's people around, Nick, that they're dying to become a vampire, so they're just like hanging out, like, hey, you got to convert me to be immortal, or what's going on here? And it's pretty good. It's definitely worth a watch for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I've heard good things about it.
Yeah. I only watched it. It was one of those where it was, I think it was on Hulu at the time or something like that. But it was like, I woke up just shitting my pants one night. You ever get to wake up with the bubble guts and you're just unloading in the toilet, right? Where like your legs shake and you're just, you're kind of crying and stuff. So I
feel like I'm there with you. It's very descriptive. Yeah.
Thank you. And because you don't want to get too far away from the toilet. So I sat downstairs at like 3 a.m. I stayed up for the rest of the night binge watching that show. Pausing to poop, but still, I binge watched that show in like one night. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, I was so tied up, I was like, I'm just shitting in the chair. It's just what we're just going to shit in the chair.
That's just what's going to happen now.
Yep. If you two would like a ringing endorsement of your business or product, just like that one, contact convincingidiots at gmail.com.
It shit your pants good. You don't even care.
All right, Nick. Any other movies, vampires, shows?
So when
shit stories you want to mention, anything like that?
Oh well, shit. Yeah. Oh well. No, I actually started brushing up on some. I was like, I gotta think of some more vampires. Just my list wasn't very long, and upon researching, different vampires in pop culture and TVs and movies, I discovered how little of these things I've actually ever seen. I know of them. I know of Buffy. Never watched it, or your Nosferatus, or what. I've just never seen any of this stuff. So unless you want me to start digging into Twilight characters, I don't know.
But you watch you haven't watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but you have watched Twilight?
I have. I've seen the first 2 movies. The second one was not great, but it was definitely better than the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. Girlfriends, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's just it was not my choosing.
Are you asking to be my girlfriend? Was that what you said? I did my head.
Well, you as the Buffy fan, I don't know how that would work. I don't know which one of us would be the girl in the scenario.
But. Brian, we need a boyfriend.
Will you be our boyfriend?
All right. So one of my favorite vampire products, anything, is the movie Interview with a Vampire back in '94 with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. It's fantastic. I know we talked about this on prior episodes, I think, but I remember at the time people were flipping out because Tom Cruise, no way in the world could he play a good Lestat. It's
he was perfect.
He was great.
Mm-hmm.
He was great. And then the young girl was played Mary Jane Watts.
Dunst, Kirsten Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst.
Yep. Fantastic.
Which, if you go back now and look
Antonio
at it,
Banderas,
she was like too. 11 or 12, and
young.
Damn near making out with Brad Pitt. It's creepy if you go back and look at it, but in the book, she's younger than that.
Yeah,
it's creepier to read than what they were able to or allowed to put on the screen.
Yeah, definitely romanticized the whole being a vampire thing. That movie. So I'll ask that question a little bit later here, but yeah, just fantastic. If you've never seen it, watch it. If you want to watch the TV show, it'd be a good opportunity to watch the original movie to tie into the TV series, I'm sure. But if you're just a remote vampire fan at all, definitely go check out Interview with a Vampire. You definitely find it out there on streaming and everything else. Can't believe it's back in '94 already.
Yeah, 1994.
So, yeah, crazy.
I'm going to go with True Blood on HBO.
Okay.
And some of the there's 2 particular ones that I would put up. Eric Northman, Alexander Skarsgård.
Okay.
We talked about. I don't know if that's on. If we did that offline or
offline.
Okay, but we talked about Alexander Skarsgård. Yeah, I don't think we were back into the show at that point. But
he's going to do the new. He's going to be the new. They're remaking Nosferatu, so he's going to play Nosferatu.
His younger brother, will be doing Nosferatu.
There you go.
Eric Northman, the character Eric Northman on True Blood was done by Alexander Skarsgård, who also did the Norseman or Northman. Yeah. The
Viking one I talked about.
Right.
Yeah.
But his name was Northman in the show.
Okay.
And then Jessica Hamby on True Blood, also portrayed by Deborah Ann Woll. Now, if you don't know who Deborah Ann Woll is, do yourself a favor and Google that shit. She is, she was in, if you watch the CW or whatever of the Daredevil. Either you need to watch that. She's she's the redhead in that
CW version of Daredevil. I don't remember that.
Yeah, well, where do you think Charlie Cox came from?
I thought that was a Netflix Daredevil. That was originally
no, CW. It got moved over to Netflix.
I see.
But it was originally CW.
Okay.
It's my understanding. But yeah, she is. Yeah, do yourself a favor and Google Deborah Ann Woll.
Okay.
And she was a vampire, like a teenage vampire, and she was, definitely. If you're gonna get bit by somebody, she's a pretty good choice.
Okay, very good. Just a couple quick ones. Have you ever 30 Days of Night in 2007? So
yeah,
I remember it. I didn't see it, but I remember like trailers and stuff.
Yeah, concept very interesting. So it takes place in a small town in Alaska where it's night for 30 days. So vampires happen to be infiltrating the town. Obviously, they can't survive in the daylight, but since it's night for so many days, they just are able to wreak havoc. Yes, live for many. Yeah, so it's very intense, very cool movie, different concept.
It definitely has the John Carpenter's Thing feel to it.
Yeah, very frightening. Yeah, the whole thing is, obviously in many vampire movies, you get a break when the sunlight comes up. People,
right?
The vampire has to go back into his coffin, but this obviously no. It's just the vampires continue on. Fright Night. I remember this back in high school, 1985. Now, they've remade it in like 2007 or 2011 or something like that. But the original Fright Night back in 85 had the great Roddy McDowall started that. Roddy McDowall, you might remember, was Cornelius in the original Planet of the Apes movie. Great actor, but he was the TV show host that helped the neighbor kid go after Count Dracula. Both versions are pretty good, frankly. But just a fun movie. Just basically, Dracula happens to live next door to this teenage kid, and he discovers who he is, and he recruits a local TV horror host who's playing a vampire hunter on television. So the kid thinks, well, the guy must know a lot about vampires, kind of recruits him, and they actually go after the real Count Dracula, and it's a lot of fun and goofiness and horror, everything kind of blended in there. So a lot of fun. Okay. Fright Night 85. Do you have any other ones?
From Dusk Till Dawn.
That's a good one.
Quentin Tarantino, George Clooney, Salma Hayek. There's nudity, vampires, a lot of blood. It was fun.
There you go. Speaking of which, Blade, one of my favorites also.
Yeah.
1998, Wesley Snipes, and I know we've mentioned Blade in several episodes prior. And that was one of the first big Marvel property was Blade to hit the big screen. I never knew
that was a Marvel
thing.
Yeah.
And if that, again, as we said before, if that movie would not have taken off and become such a hit, you might not have seen Spider-Man back then.
Right.
And the rebirth of the entire Marvel universe. And of course, Blade is being rebooted into the Marvel universe. He made a small cameo, just his voice, at the end of Doctor Strange. I think it was Doctor Strange or the Eternals. Was not the Eternals. Was it the Eternals? You heard his voice at the end. Right. So Blade, great concept. It's basically a guy was born. His mom was bitten by a vampire, and she was pregnant with him. She died at birth. He became a kind of a hybrid, and decides to take vengeance out on vampires and hunts them down. Interesting concept, interesting character, and Wesley Snipes was so good in that movie.
Yeah,
back then.
Yeah. Morbius is kind of a vampire character too, isn't he?
Yes, he was.
I still have never seen that movie, but
me neither.
I have never.
Nor did the majority of everybody else.
Everything I hear is that it either wasn't good or just lack of seeing it, nobody saw it.
Yeah, just shit the bed.
Yeah. So just a quick question for you guys. I know it's late. We got to wrap up and get to sleep here soon. But all these movies about vampires, did you ever fantasize about becoming a vampire? Does the thought of that be living eternally? But again, you have to obviously kill to survive.
Sure.
But does all these movies kind of romanticize the thought of becoming a vampire? Is that ever appealed to you in real life, or no? It's just a weird thing. I had never thought about it, or what do you think about that? Dean, you ever think about that?
When I was younger, before I got to living more, I thought, yeah, that would be cool. You live forever. You're all cool and vampire like, and then you live fucking 30 more years, and you're like, oh fuck, no, this ain't cool. I don't want to live forever. I barely fucking want to live now. So, yeah. So now, not appealing. Then, sure, it was neat.
Okay, Nick, what do you think?
I think it'd be a horrible thing. Like it's one of those things, and it's that like people like, oh, you get to be immortal and do all this and whatever. But like it would be all like you'd see like everybody you ever care about that wasn't a vampire like around you die, and like no,
Right.
it'd be fun. And the vampire thing was never really like. So it's kind of funny because like vampires weren't really a thing for a long time there until like the teenage vampire thing hit real big. And it was the Twilights and the Vampire Diaries and so like when
Boys in the 80s, yep.
When I think like vampire shit, like it's kind of like that kind of stuff. Like it's a weird like I don't know.
I think that's a generational thing, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say like vampires aren't like
because you don't. We don't have the same memory of vampires that you do.
Yeah, it's this weird like relationship. Like, who to be with a vampire? Like it's this. I don't know. It's I don't like a vampire thing doesn't sound I don't know. I think I just have like a different viewpoint of what vampire because in pop culture for the last like God, what 15 years, 20 years or whatever, that's kind of been like what like vampires like popular, in a popular sense have been. And it's just kind of weird. But no, to actually be a vampire, I think like would just be kind of like depressing because you can't get attached to anyone. Yeah, it really would. I mean, at the same time, I guess it would and it would like emotionally, yes. But I mean, like, as a vampire, though, also is my understanding and everything is that like by being immortal, you don't feel yourself getting older or like that you're sore now when you weren't 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like you're immortal and you feel amazing and you're.
Still just mentally waking up, going, ugh. I'm still doing this.
Yeah,
but you could kill yourself very easily too
that's
as
true.
a vampire.
That's true.
Jump out in the sun.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Or
go to the butcher shop and get a steak.
That's right. Yeah, I like I said earlier, the whole Interview with a Vampire movie definitely just made you think about that. In that movie, you certainly saw those guys live through different eras, and they saw the invention
that would be
of
the cool part.
Technology,
is like to see the history.
Yeah, and the scene where Brad Pitt's sitting in the movie theater and they see the sun rising on screen. It's like wow, it's just that all that's very interesting. But like you said, the other side of it, you got to kill people to survive, and for them, it's just a thing to survive. They don't really
for a
think
while,
about
Louis killed rats.
Right, because he had the sensitivity and this and that and the other. So. Yeah, and this is a weird time to reveal on this show, guys. But no, I'm not actually a vampire.
What?
Yeah.
Plot twist. Didn't see that one coming. Did you?
It would explain your pasty white skin and you still being alive at 180 years old.
That's right. That's right. We're going to talk more about that on our two-year anniversary episode, guys, coming up here in a couple weeks here. So we'll be doing this for 2 years already. Time flies when we're having sort of fun.
When we're sitting in silence over Dean jokes.
That's right. Yeah, for 2 years later. Yeah. Yeah, and one thing about vampires, though, too, guys. I mean, obviously, one thing that could kill them, we mentioned already, is sunlight, right? Another thing that kills a vampire is what? What else kills a vampire? Do you know?
Stake the heart.
Mediocre product reads.
Well, the vampires might have been dead a long time ago. So
garlic.
Yes, a wooden garlic. Yeah, but a wooden stake through the heart.
No, back to the. Don't keep naming things. You had it.
That's all right. No, you're fine. You're fine. A wooden stake through the heart.
Jackal.
And who might craft such a stake to kill a vampire with other fine woodworking products is one of our sponsors, Belmark Amazon store. Check them out. They're known for not crafting the stakes necessarily. Maybe they do. This is going to be a new product on the store that you'll see here very soon for the Halloween season. Stake to kill a vampire, but they specialize in countertop compost bins, floating nightstands, and floating liquor cabinets. Fine woodworking products. Go check them out.
Just like vampires float.
That's right.
Yeah. Or perhaps a floating coffin for your dead, if you are a vampire.
Possible. Check out the store. Maybe it's on there. So find them on Amazon, Bellmark, BELLEMARK, Amazon store. And speaking of the heart to drive the stake into, why don't you go check out our final sponsor of the show, Golden Heart Tattoos. Find their website at goldenhearttattoos.com or give them a call at 234-706-2982. Maybe get yourself a tattoo of a vampire. Maybe Bram Stoker's vampire. Maybe me as the Podlander vampire or something like that. I don't know.
Count Chocula, whatever. Yeah.
Count Chocula, that'd be a great tattoo. Count Chocula, absolutely.
I'm actually, not many people know this, but I have an appointment with Scott to get it's going to be my whole chest. It's Brian dressed as Count Chocula.
I like that.
That would be phenomenal. I want that also now.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. That
it's
tattoo
coming. And so am I.
That's right. That tattoo will not suck. Ha, ha, ha. Anyway. All right. Well, guys, before the sun comes up and we all turn to dust, I think it's time to wrap up another episode of Convincing Idiots. Nick, I don't know. You do what you want to do. Outro as the count sounds great to me, unless you have another idea. Whatever you want to do, sir. Whatever's take us out.
Brian,
please.
That sounds phenomenal. Eternally phenomenal. So, what else sounds phenomenal? Well, that would be for you to transform into your bat form and fly on over to your computer. From there, you will simply type in Convincing Idiots Linktree, LINKTREE, and there you will find links to all of our social media accounts. Please rate, review, subscribe, like, and all of these things. You can also find this information and so much more on our website, that is convincingidiots.wordpress.com. So, for another episode of Convincing Idiots, I am idiot number 1, Millennial Nick.
And I am idiot number 2, Zennial Dean.
And I am idiot number 3, Gen X Brian.
Have we convinced you to get together with your friends and do some sucking today?
I sure hope so.
I mean, that's why I'm here.
Hey, team with Convincing Idiots. Brian and Nick here. Like and subscribe.